Well, there's a lot to say about, the statement of things being meant to be. What I've always liked to say is something different. Hear me out. Hey, what's going, y'all? It is yours truly once again. This idea that something is meant to be. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard this cliche many times before in their life in regards to a relationship. My thing is overall, it's so common that it's really uncommon as to why things tend not to work out despite what people thought was meant to be. And that's what I want to talk about. Because here's the thing. I believe that things aren't necessarily meant to be. What if I were to tell you that things are made to be versus meant to be? I think that has been left out of the conversation. The reason why things may not be perceived as meant to be because they were never made to be in the first place. Now, that is a double entendre. Some things aren't made to be in the first place because of just the less likelihood of those two things coming together. But also, those two things aren't made to be because people don't put forth the effort to put those two things together. Now, let's deal with the former of what I said of that double entendre. Let's deal with that. Okay. Now, the less likelihood of things come together. It's based on the matter of function and design and environment and as well as evolution. We see this in nature where two different species have the less likelihood of coming together, but a lot of times we throw similar animals into captivity and it becomes a free-for-all. Kind of like what people do with lions and tigers all the time. That's another story. That is definitely another story. But also in regards to the way things are designed and engineered, a lot of times certain things just doesn't go. Like you can't necessarily get a screw to have, like, let's say if it's a flathead screw, well, a Phillips screwdriver will not be able to twist that flathead screw, if that makes sense to some people. But that's what we do in a lot of different cases in regards to what we thought was meant to be. A lot of times you are dealing with someone that has no type of similarity to you. Now, the problem is that I believe in this society, this is becoming even more commonplace as we continue to socially distance ourselves from each other. And this has been long before the pandemic. We've been socially distancing ourselves due to a lot of other things we expose ourselves to instead of trying to find relatables. Okay. And we're also spiritually distancing ourselves as we sort of go into different avenues. And this definitely can represent what is going on with the feminine and the masculine per se. You have to be of a certain way to have a certain person attracted to you. And a lot of times it's very biased depending on the gender, the situation, and the environment, as I sort of alluded to a few minutes ago. So I would say this, to get something that everybody wants, you have to be pretty much what everybody else is. You have to be of the popular. You have to be of what is received. You have to be of what is politically correct or even religiously correct, depending on the circumstance. So a lot of times when we end up having these last few minute arguments with someone that we don't want to be with no more, and we talk about, I guess we're not meant to be. Well, you have to keep in mind that person was probably totally separate from you in regards to the way they think, the way they look at life, the way they see a lot of things. Okay? So overall, when you hear someone talk and they say that things aren't meant to be, they're just using that as an excuse because, as I've said many times before at my channel, nothing is impossible. You look at the word, it means that I'm possible. So everything's possible. And even with this idea of the word depression, you unscramble that, it also means I pressed on. So everything is what you make it out to be in this life. And I just refuse to be the type of person to look at someone and say that it's not meant to be. It's not going to work. It can work. It's just based on the other individual. And I think the problem is we have a lot of things that we do in this life, and we get around a lot of people that tend to cloud our judgment on a lot of things. As long as you believe, that's the most important thing. You get around someone that also believes too. Now, universally, I think this applies for everyone of all genders. You have to be around people that believe in you just like you believe in them. The minute they stop believing in you, to me, they never did in the first place. They just lied. They just basically lied on you. Now, y'all see this. Y'all see the hand holding the other hand, getting back to sort of the relationship talk. You see how he's holding her hand gently as the sun is going down, or it could be the sun coming up, but just at the brink of the twilight, the mood is set right. We have to remember that in this life, in many different ways, this is how we need to keep it. So a lot of times we can see how things don't work, or we would be perceived to think that, but a lot of times it's just that it stopped working, but it's not that it doesn't work. So that brings up another idea to this topic about if things are meant to be or made out to be. It's not that something can't work. Some things just stop working, but you can have it start working again. You might have to make a few changes. That's fine. I would say go for it. Yeah, I would say go for it. Things do take time. Things do sometimes need to change. You make a few adjustments, and that way things can still work a certain way as it did once before it stopped working. Because usually when things stop working, then people at that point just tend to drift and say, well, I guess it's not meant to be. You got to make it out to be, and you got to make it work. You got to make it work again. Now, when people say this is not going to work, a lot of people just want to stop things from working. That's pretty much it. They want to stop things from working. They want to stop things from being made out to be a certain way. You know, they don't want it. They don't want to put no effort into it no more. They just want to completely stop. So a lot of times people just give up on things. They want something out the sky. They want something that's perfectly made for them. Initially, no, you got to make it for you in due time as time goes on. It's going to take time. Also add this, things being made out to be, but also add being molded to be. Then again, you'll have your naysayers and they'll be like, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Because see, molding takes time. People don't want to take the time out to make sure things can work a certain way. So people get impatient. And people just be like, well, I can't wait that long. That's what we get nowadays. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Signing out.